Hi, I'm Lisa Reese, and I'm one of your co-facilitators for the upcoming Mesquite EI certification course that I will be doing with David Caruso. I wanted to take a moment just to talk a little bit about the certification course, but also about why you might be interested in taking the Mesquite certification versus the other EQ assessment courses that are out there. So what I'm going to do is walk you through a little bit about the origin of EI and also how it differs from EQ, and finally what to expect during our course. So getting started, let's talk a little bit about the theory of emotional intelligence and where it came from. This was actually first discussed in a paper written by Jack Mayer and Peter Salovey, who defined emotional intelligence as the ability to monitor one's own and other feelings, to discriminate among them, and to use this information to guide one's thinking and action. A lot of people think that emotional intelligence started with Daniel Goleman, but what's interesting is that Daniel actually referred to the work that Jack and Peter had done. What happened over the years is that it became wildly popular, and a lot of people gravitated towards the EQ approach of emotional intelligence. While there's nothing wrong with this approach, it is very different from the emotional intelligence approach, the ability-based approach that I'd like to explain a little bit to you about. So we developed a video. If you want to see more about it, you can go to this video. However, just to give you a brief overview, Peter and Jack said that emotional intelligence is actually a standard intelligence that can be measured. It's a set of abilities or hard skills, and that they posit that emotions contain data that is important when you're making decisions, because emotions impact what you think and how you feel and behave. Emotions can be really, really smart, and that we're able to develop strategies on how to manage these emotions, to leverage them, to use them to inspire and motivate and to reach our goals. So as you can see, it's a little different than EQ, which is more focused on how you view yourself, a self-report. It's related sometimes to personality traits and social skills, positivity, resilience, charisma, etc. And that the feeling about EQ is that you absolutely can increase it. So there's just different approaches. Now, what we do with the ability-based model is it's based on 4 abilities, which are perceive, facilitate, understand, and manage. So this model is about, are you able to accurately identify emotions in yourself and in others? Can you use those emotions to help facilitate thinking and behaviors and to actually leverage them to reach your goals? The next part is understanding the root cause of emotions. And emotions can be very complex. They can blend to form other emotions. And more importantly, when we understand emotions and how they progress, we can actually do something called emotional affective forecasting, which is like, if something is frustrating right now, if you don't do anything about it, it can build to anger and then to rage. So understanding how emotions progress, you can actually do some analysis of what could happen in certain situations. And then, of course, the final and one of the most important parts of emotional intelligence is your ability to manage your emotions, not only yours, but of others. And so in our course, we go over a lot of strategies to do this. Now, why the Mesquite is challenging to give feedback and why it requires certification is that it is a complex instrument. A lot of people who take it are actually surprised by their results. They sometimes feel that they are better than they are, especially if they've taken an EQ assessment. EQ assessments, they may say, I'm definitely emotionally intelligent. And when they get their Mesquite results, it could be quite different. I always say that tests can be either affirming or awakening. So therefore, it requires a lot of skill to be able to give this feedback. So how we measure somebody's emotional intelligence is through the Mesquite. It's again, the ability-based model, which means that there are right answers for the questions being asked. And they are compared against 21 international emotion researchers who have looked at this test and said, this is what the right answer should be. So that's why sometimes it could be very shocking when they get the results, because they're being compared against the right answers of these experts. So when they get their test, they're going to get a lot of different scores. And this is very helpful because it helps drill down to maybe some blind spots, or maybe it also makes obvious their strengths. So they'll get an overall EI score, and then they'll get some ability scores, meaning they'll get a score for perceive, facilitate, understand, and manage. Each of those abilities have 2 task scores, so they can drill even deeper to say, are they able to perceive emotion in faces or in environment? Do they have empathy? Can they facilitate emotion? Do they understand how emotions change and how complex the emotions can be? And do they manage it within themselves and others? We also provide a bias score, which is when the test taker completes it, are they maybe skewing more towards positivity in their answers or negativity? And also a scatter score, meaning how consistent were they across the abilities and across the tasks? When there is more higher scatter score, that requires a lot more skill and analysis to do a great feedback session. So while I said that this is a complex instrument, it's once you are grounded in the model, we will give you lots of resources that you can take away. We actually, during the course, will give you a feedback form, a guide that actually will help you have these feedback sessions so that you can deliver it confidently and competently. That's what our goal is for this course. So what can you expect? During the 2-day course, you will do some pre-work. You're going to watch some videos, and you will have the opportunity to take the MSCEIT. David or I will give you your one-on-one feedback, and we'll give you lots of study materials. During the course itself, we're going to go over some of the history and the psychometrics. We're going to talk about what emotional intelligence is and is not. We also point out some of the weaknesses in the tool itself. We aren't selling you something because we think it's the end all be all. We want to caution you that tests sometimes can be wrong or maybe not accurate in this situation. So we're going to go over that as well. We'll talk about all the abilities and task scores, how you interpret it. We're actually going to practice giving feedback, because that's the most unnerving part, giving feedback to a client, especially a client who thinks they really did well and maybe they got average scores. And then, of course, post-workshop support. David and I will be available to you. We have a community of MSCEIT practitioners, and we can guarantee you that we will answer your questions, and we will provide you with lots of resources. The other thing we're excited about is that we received accreditation from ICF. If you're a coach, you will receive some continuing credits, 9 core competencies, and 6 1/4 resource development credits. So that is really exciting for those, because we know how difficult sometimes it is to get credits. So that's basically what the course is entailing. And if you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, we hope to see you in our course, and we can't wait to learn together with you. Have a great day.